Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooter Podcast. Tonight you have me and you have Chris.
Hello.
Maybe not. Leo can join in later. But once again, we have a guest, a very special guest. As everybody knows, Chris and I shoot Canik. So tonight we have hit the trifecta. We've hit the third tier of the Canik shooting team. So let's go ahead and bring in Jason Bradley. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Great. Been looking forward to this night.
Yeah.
We've had on Frank Shue, we've had on Nils Jonassen, and now Jason Bradley.
Yeah, I've listened to those two interviews. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Trust me. So we usually start with, then you know how we start this episode. We ask a few questions to get to know our guest, in this case, you. So we're going to start with your favorite movie.
Okay. Probably Idiocracy.
Oh, okay.
If you're not familiar, it's a documentary in the future of basically what we're going to. So if you want to know how the future is going to turn out, basically go watch that movie.
There you go. Favorite book.
Yeah, I remember. I don't read a lot, so
that's a running trend.
Yeah. For one of these shooting books, maybe, but no. The last real book that I think I read was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I read that before it was a movie, and I actually really liked that book. I was traveling a lot for work at the time, so I was always. I don't remember. This was probably 15 years ago. So I don't really know that the iPads and all that stuff was iPhones and all that stuff was out like they are now. So I was reading a lot of books. I say I was reading a lot of books. I read a couple books. I don't know if I read a lot. I might have read 2 or 3. So
to you, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. To me, that's a lot too. Yeah.
Now we're going to get into your past a little bit more in a minute, but what about when you were in the military? Did you read then?
No.
Okay. Well, I got deployed a lot and I read a lot. So
I drank a lot.
Okay. All right. That is also a trend in the military. Yep. Now this is the Huggy special question. Your favorite superhero?
Oh, superhero? Man, I mean, it's kind of hard probably not to say Superman, right?
Well, you can say Superman.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I was thinking as a kid, what did I like? I liked Superman, and then I liked Wolverine, but I don't really think Wolverine's a superhero.
Well, it actually kind of is.
Well, I mean, he kind of is, but he's a jerk, and he basically wants to be left alone, and he cusses everybody out. So that's not your typical superhero. That's more of your. I kind of relate to him, but yeah. So I'd say one of those.
I mean, he's good. He's a team player at times. You know, he's like, okay, you're getting your butt kicked. Okay, I'll come help you. And then he like says, okay, you're welcome, and I'll go back over here. You know.
Yeah. So
I mean, he's a superhero. I actually like Wolverine. Wolverine is a pretty tough guy. You know, he's. I will have to say I'll use the word badass.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm with
stick with your first choice.
Yeah.
All right. Your all-time favorite gun and your all-time favorite caliber.
So my all-time favorite gun is the Smith & Wesson Model 17. It's the gun. I have it in my safe behind me here. It's the gun I learned to shoot on. I think it was the K22 or something like that, and this is like the second or couple generations, but it's the Model 17 Smith & Wesson 22 long rifle revolver. Okay. The one I have has got an 8 3/8 inch barrel, target trigger, target hammer, and that's the gun I learned to shoot on. Favorite caliber? Value. Yeah. Favorite calibers probably. Oh, man, I hate to say it. My first thing is to say probably 45, because after I learned how to shoot on this gun, I learned how to shoot on the next gun I shot was another gun I have in the safe was a 1911 Colt 1911, and this is a Colt 1911. It's not an A1. It was made in 1913. And a local gunsmith friend in I grew up in Dallas, got a hold of the gun and basically rebuilt it. And it was back in the day, it was, this was all done in the 70s before I was alive. But so it was basically that era of kind of the custom 1911 gunsmithing. And it's a tack driver. So that's a 45 ACP. That was the next gun that we shot all the time. So probably 45, even though now I don't shoot 45 at all. It's all 9mm. So but I'd still probably say 45.
I like it.
Because they don't make a 46.
Well, now challenge accepted.
Right.
So, all right. So we're gonna pause for a minute because now I have questions. So I know you're in Arkansas, but you said you grew up in Dallas. Where were you born?
I was born in Amarillo.
Okay, I was born in Dallas.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right,
my brother.
Ooh.
Yeah, everybody else in my family was born in Dallas. I was the Amarillo. Yeah, and then we moved right back to Dallas.
So they moved down there, had you move back.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So you're the Amarillo kid.
Yeah, the Amarillo kid.
All right, back on track. So I try to now make the fifth question unique to the guest. So this question is unique to you because it's something you posted on social media.
Okay, let's hear it.
You posted on Instagram recently that you were in a movie, Antoine Fisher.
Yep.
Was that your favorite moment during your time in the Navy?
Not even close.
Not even. Well, this should be a good story then.
No. Well, I don't know if I can tell you my favorite time.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's off the air.
Yeah. So, no, they filmed that movie when I was stationed aboard that ship, and we were asked to be extras in several scenes and even to audition for like scenes, speaking roles. And so, actually, when I watched that movie, I recognized a couple people that I was in the Navy with. And in fact, a good buddy of mine at the time, he was in my division, and he was getting out of the Navy right as they were doing that. Like he had a couple months, and he was wanting to become an actor, and he is an actor now. And like he told our chain of command what was going on, and they said, hey, we'll get you at least to be able to talk to somebody. And so they got him, and he got face to face with Denzel Washington, and Denzel Washington actually put him in another movie. The guy's been in several movies now. He's even on a TV show on Amazon Prime, and he's been in several movies, big movies. He was in the Hunger Games movies. But anyways, he was. So it's pretty interesting that whole movie, how it kind of the memories I have from it. So yeah, but no, it was actually a very, very annoying and boring process. So you see anything you see that was actual Navy related, when I watch it, I go, in fact, it was on like a week ago. I go, that didn't happen. We didn't do that. We don't do that. That's just for show for the movie. And there's so many things I was picking apart in these movies that are not realistic at all for that time, and especially the Navy. So we stood around a lot, and then they would do a take, and then they would reset, and we'd do another take. And this was on several different scenes in the movie. And after about the third time that we were doing this on a scene, I basically was like, I'm done. I walked off, and I just went and did my own thing. So, yeah.
Definitely not your best moment then.
Well, it just got boring, and I was like, hey, I'm just somebody in the background. They're not going to miss me. So,
okay. So what was your favorite time then?
Well, to be honest with you, it was just the having fun. I mean, I can't think of one particular incident, but when you're in the military, at least for me, you hate a lot of it, but you love a lot too. It's one of them deals, especially after you're done, you remember all the good times that you and your buddies had in all these countries, trying to do what guys are doing, chase women and party essentially. So that's pretty much going to be my favorite thing that I remember was just all that.
There you go. All right. So how long have you been competing in the USPSA?
I guess this is going to be my 5th year. So I started in 2017. So basically what happened was I in 2016, a buddy of mine had said, "Hey, there's a club out here that shoots IDPA. Why don't you come out and shoot?" And he had tried to get me to talk me into that. And probably around the early 2000s, maybe 2005 at the latest, I had went to this indoor gun range and shot a couple different Tuesday nights, like 3 maybe, IDPA. And it wasn't even a real IDPA stuff. It was just like they used IDPA targets and loosely used the rules. So I shot a couple nights of that. It was, literally like 30 rounds, a couple mock stages in these very small indoor gun range. And that was the end of it. So I knew what IDPA was. And he basically convinced me to come to show up. So I did. And it went well. So I was like, okay, I like this. And I started coming. This was like in late 2016. So I started going back, and then I started shooting IDPA. And then the same club has a USPSA match, and I think I shot one of their club matches at the end of the year. And it might have been just that first match. It didn't take much. It wasn't more than 2 or 3 matches before I was kind of like, okay, this is where I kind of want to be. I like this organization or this game better, not to, be overly critical of IDPA, but I just enjoyed USPSA more. So that was right around the start of 2017, end of 2016. And I still shot both of them for a little bit, but about halfway through the year of 2017, I completely quit shooting IDPA and I haven't shot it since. So.
Okay. Now, were you shooting a Canik from the very beginning?
No. I've shot every gun there is in almost every division in this brief 4-year period, 4.5-year period. I think at the time, the very first match, I had a Glock 34. So, and I had a CompTac holster, and I even had the mag pouches. So I had everything except for a vest. And so I just showed up and shot that and actually won the match and hurt some feelings. And yeah. And so basically
you took my lunch money.
yeah, just stuck with it. And for probably the first 2.5, 3 years, I was shooting another gun every month in another division constantly. So I shot Glocks, CZs, Tanfos, SIGs, Smith & Wessons, and that's just in production. And you know what I mean? And then I shot limited for a couple months, open for a couple months, and then said, well, let me try this. I went to another range and I was going to shoot limited, and I forgot my gun, or I forgot my ammo. And a random guy that I don't think I ever met before, and I don't think I've ever seen him since, says, "Hey, do you want to shoot my carry optics gun? I've got everything you need." And I said, "Yes, I do." And that was pretty much it. So I shot that, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to give carry optics a try. And then I bought a Glock, or I had some Glocks, and just set those up. And then at the end of 2019, I basically was like, I like the Glock. So I had just gotten back from nationals. And then about a month later, shot a level 2 major. It was Arkansas section, I believe. And I won that match. I was 16th at nationals and then won the Arkansas section. So it was basically like, okay, what am I going to do here? I think I'm going to stick with carry optics, but I want to try another gun because that's kind of what I did. And that year, I believe Nils had just gotten like second at nationals with that gun, I think, in carry optics. And yeah. I had dry fired one a couple times. And I said, well, let me give this gun a try. It looks like it's legit, because I mean, I knew who Nils was, and I knew how good he was, and didn't think that he would be shooting a gun that was subpar. So I got one and set it up like he was setting it up. So that was the beginning of last year, 2020. So I stuck with a Canik, shot it all year, was shooting really, really good with it. And I was like, okay, I think I'm done switching guns. So.
Yeah, now you're shooting brass off the top of targets.
Yeah. Yep.
Not too bad. Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Now, so in 4 years, you went from nobody in the USPSA because you weren't even competing in it,
right,
to second in carry optics to Max Michel. What were you doing before that allowed you to? Because you didn't start You were probably what, A or master?
I made master my first classification.
There you go. Okay. So what were you doing before that then that you were already at that level of shooting?
I have shot guns my entire life. So my dad was a very, very, very good bullseye shooter in the 70s, in the 80s, when I was a kid, in the 80s. And so he taught me how to shoot. So I knew how to shoot accurately. I knew how to shoot a gun. I wasn't as good as I am now, but I was still very solid at shooting a gun very accurately. So growing up, my dad and I would do things like stick shotgun shells, 410 shot. We'd go to the gun range, and there'd be a skeet range. So we would pick up a bunch of shotgun shells, and we would stick them in the ground with the brass sticking up, about 1.5 inches of shotgun shell. And we would step back and we'd shoot them. And, you shoot till you miss. And then, okay, I got 5, your turn. And we would do that, or we would shoot one, and as it rolled back, the next person had to then shoot it. And then the first person to miss lost. And so, it was always stuff like that. And, I had a pellet rifle as a kid, and I would literally go in the backyard and get, lay on the ground in a prone position and shoot the stems off of like dandelions. And of course, we're not talking about 100 yards. We're talking something like that. It'd be 10 yards.
Right.
But I remember this pellet rifle that I had. It had a really good Olympic peep sight on it, but the trigger was complete trash. So you had to fight this awful trigger it had to be 12 pounds. I mean, it wasn't 12 pounds, but it was probably 6. And it was just a long, hard sponge trigger. And you had to fight that the whole time and keep everything perfect until that pellet left the rifle. And so basically I contribute that growing up to kind of, I didn't have to learn how to shoot a gun accurately. All I had to do was really learn the game and how to do those things and improve those aspects of, transitions, recoil management, running, reloads, draws, the fundamentals of the actual sport, action sport shooting kind of stuff. So that helped. Not having to, basically, I was able to bypass all that fundamentals of accuracy.
Okay. That's interesting because I've shot a lot of accuracy competition stuff, and my issue is speed. You know what I mean? Like, that's interesting that you learned all that accuracy stuff and you were able to transition right into the speed game. That's pretty good. That's very impressive.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, but I guess that traditionally what you're basically saying is people that kind of come from the accuracy side first, they usually have that problem of getting that overdrive gear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't have that problem.
And I do.
I have the opposite problem. I have to
slow down.
Keep stuff in check.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was going to say I had that problem with slowing down too.
Yeah.
It's called gravity.
I have that problem as well. Yeah.
But,
So,
once I start moving forward, inertia keeps going, and I'm like, oh God, I can't stop.
Yeah.
So just recently you actually joined Team Canik. Now, how long has that been in the works though?
I don't know actually, but we've been talking back and forth for a few months. So yeah, we finally got it finalized, I guess about 2 weeks ago. So but we've been talking for a few months. I met some of the people. I haven't met them physically, but was introduced to them. We talked back and forth for a while. Really, really cool people. So I'm excited about that.
You going to switch to the rival when it comes out?
I don't know. I'm definitely going to try one.
Yeah.
If it shows up in America.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That is a nice looking gun. I had to say that when I saw the release for it, I was just like mouth watering, like, oh my God, when is it coming? And of course on Instagram, everybody's like, asking, when is it coming to the US? That's all everybody wants to know is when it's going to.
Yeah, I know enough to be, as far as how things work, and I'm not even talking about like in what Canik's got coming, but as far as importing stuff, I've heard enough to basically say something incorrectly. But there's usually processes of they've got to get import licenses or something like that approved. And I'm assuming that's probably something that is being worked on. I don't know. But I know there's some things coming, but it's really all I could say. So
Yeah.
That's about how Nils was, same way.
Yeah.
But that does bring up the question: what is your role with Team Canik, or is there a role?
I'm a sponsored shooter.
Okay.
I get to I shake babies and kiss hands, I guess. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I'm a team shooter, sponsored pro shooter, whatever you want to call it. So
Nice.
Do you guys have any plans to meet up at nationals and shoot together, or any other match?
no, I mean, there's not anything that we've talked about. I mean, I say that Frank and I have texted a little bit in the last, I guess, 2 weeks that, hey, when we are together, let's try to get a picture. That's been about it. The year's already kind of planned out for everybody. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of, nobody's going to adjust their plans. So I think we're all shooting nationals. Now, as far as shooting together, that's the only match I think of that we're shooting, all three shooting the same match.
Well, and I could see 2 of the 3 shooting on the same squad at nationals.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to go on with that squad. I think it's in flux right now because of there's so many good shooters coming in this year. There's going to be pretty much every shooter that is accomplished in any way, shape, or form. At any, I mean, just solid. Every pistol shooter is probably shooting that national. So there's going to be a lot of national champions coming to shoot that match, and then a lot of guys that are wanting to become national champions.
That's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I saw that you had posted. Oh my gosh, I've got a dog who's acting jumpy. About springs and stuff like that. So I assume, like the rest of us, you've changed out your recoil spring as well as your recoil spring guide and your striker spring.
Yeah, I've pretty much changed out every spring in the gun, and I actually have a couple different configurations. And so basically, what I ended up first doing initially, because when I got these guns and set them up in 2019, I don't really think there was a lot. I think Springco might have had a kit, and I didn't buy it because I had a bunch of Glock springs. So the first thing I did is I tried a Glock striker spring, and those have always worked for me. And then I've tried the Glock striker block, the plunger block spring. So I put a reduced power, that one in there. And then I've always left the trigger return spring stock. And what I ended up doing on mine was I just went to Bass Pro, and let me grab this real quick. I went to Bass Pro and got a split ring from the tackle. So it's just you go to Bass Pro and it's split ring, and it's just a circle. It's just a little circle ring, and this is the number 1. It's the smallest size I think they had in there, and I basically just added that on to the back of my trigger return spring. And because what happens is when you put this Freedom Smith trigger in there, it basically changes where the trigger sits, and it basically puts more. You probably can't see it. It puts more tension on that trigger return spring. So all I did you can't really see it, but all I did was put that split ring on the back where the little hook would sit around the trigger bar. I just added that split ring, and it just basically increased the length of the spring.
Okay.
So saying all that, if I was setting up a new shooter's gun, and when I probably set up one of my new ones, I'm probably going to just try out Springco's kit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's simple. I've actually the striker plunger block, that spring, the Springco one I think is a little bit better. It's longer than the Glock one, so it's a little bit more. It feels just like it's going to have better engagement. So that's what I'm probably going to do. I've also changed out the guide rod and the recoil spring, and I've went through several different setups of that. I tried some Glock ones, and they didn't really work for me. I know other people have had good luck, but the Glock ones didn't. Then I went to one that was made for another gun that I got from ZR Tactical, and then I put a 15-pound Wilson Combat 1911 flat wire spring on it, and that worked all year for me last year. That's what I shot all year. This year, I'm actually shooting a tungsten guide rod with a Commander length 1911 14-pound spring. So
And it's working well.
it's working really well. I've got about 5,000 to 6,000 rounds on it. Shot a major with it. It doesn't have the now this gun's completely stock. It doesn't have the solid like this gun. It's hard to come out of battery, but when you have too light of a recoil spring in this gun with the design of the I don't know all the exacts and the logistics of it, but this gun will come out of battery if you have too light of a recoil spring. It's fairly easy. So you could be running and kind of do this, and it'll kind of come out of battery enough to where it won't fire. And it'll basically, what'll happen is it'll still trip the striker, and then it'll go into battery, and then you got to rack the slide. The Glocks do it too. If you don't have the right, every gun will do it. So you just have to make sure, you've got the right recoil spring. And again, you've got opposing forces with the striker spring versus the recoil spring, pushing and pulling. But I've increased the striker spring to like a 6-pound, maybe even 6.5. This one might even have a 6.5 in it. But I'm probably going to go back down to the 6. Why? I don't know. To be honest with you, I can't keep track of what's in here. I've got so many of these, or I've got 3 guns set up and 2 other ones I'm going to set up. So I'm just going to call it good, because when I first started shooting this gun, I was putting a 4.5-pound striker spring from a Glock in this gun.
Oh, wow.
And I was shooting Winchester primers. So as long as I was shooting Winchester primers and they were seated deep enough, I was getting them all pop. So I had no problems. I've heard other people haven't had that luck, but so the stock Glock striker spring's a 5.5, but that's probably what I'll probably just buy the spring co kit and be done with it, because it's set up for this gun and it's just gonna work. So
now here's a question for you in reference to the tungsten, because I like you have 2 of the SFX. Well, I have 2 of the SFX. And I have one with the tungsten guide rod in it, and I have shot it several times. Only thing that I did notice is when I actually kind of took the slide off, I was wondering with you, did you notice that your tungsten guide rod seemed to slide out of the little holding lip and actually move, or did you have any issues at all with that?
I'm not sure I really understand what you're talking about, but there's mine, and it just kind of comes out just pretty much like any other one I would expect any other one would feel.
Right. Same with mine, but I'm just saying, like, I noticed that when I fired it several times, when I took it off, I noticed that the guide rod had moved, and like, oh, hold on here, what's going on? Because then that's when I noticed that like you were saying, it was so light that it would actually come out of wouldn't be in the battery. And I was like wondering, did you have that issue, or did you change your springs to something else to fix that problem, or do you even have that problem?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have that problem. The only thing, again, and I'm not sure if this is even what you're talking about. So this gun is basically, and so what happens is when you put that in there and you kind of get it seated like it's supposed to, it will kind of step up on you. But all of these, every gun I've ever shot does that. So I don't know if it's what you're talking about, but
yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've never really seen another gun not do that, to be honest with you. So that does not bother me or worry me, because it's weird. I have noticed that sometimes. I think.
Right. I was just wondering if you, being that you put the tungsten guide rod in there, if you had seen it, changed it, or done something. So that's good to know. So
I got to be honest with you. I don't even pay attention to it anymore, because for whatever reason, that seems to be so normal to me. I don't even process it anymore. So I could be, I guess for whatever reason, I just don't focus on that area. So it's nothing jumped out and struck me as incorrect.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate that information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, the interesting thing is I have the Sprinco set up, and I've not noticed that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, again, I'm kind of to the point where the more I'm talking about it, I'm realizing, well, I don't have, I'm not really even paying attention to that part of the gun when I take it apart. So maybe I'm actually mistaken and not really understanding what he's saying, but I think I am. But
No, you're right on point.
Okay.
Actually, you're right on point, and that's what I was.
yeah,
You hit it just right. So
let me take this one. Yeah. So this
because
one's moved.
I have the Sprinko in this one,
Yeah.
and you can see where I was, like you were saying, how let me get that up here, how it sits in the first one, and then when I with the tungsten one, like you said, it will jump up, you know, to the back part there, and I was just kind of curious, you know, if that was happening to you, which it did, and you're like, it's okay, which I'm good with it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I just watch it, and if it hopefully don't cause you no problems, and if it does, then you have to probably. But yeah, I don't think that's something I'm too worried about.
Well, and I'm glad. I was just like, I just didn't know if like you might have said, oh yeah, the spring tension, or
Yeah.
I'm using a different way to spring. So good to know.
Yeah, you bet.
So before I forget, I noticed that when you were live yesterday shooting at the range, you were talking about your optic going out on you. And you said this would be the third one?
Yeah. And that's what I was doing when we kind of first logged on. I turned it on because I wanted to see it. I'm going to dry fire it with it the rest of this week and see what it's doing. But so I've only had 2 dots officially or technically break on me where they didn't work. I've had one other one that I basically saw what looked like it was the contact was going to start moving. It started resembling what I'd seen when one does break, how the contact would slip back. And so I sent it to the factory and had it replaced. So I've only sent 3 dots back in over 2 years of shooting. So we're talking, you know, probably 80,000 rounds, 2.5 years of shooting with these dots. And I've only had 2 of them fail on me.
Okay.
Now, some people would say that, what do you mean only 2? Well, I've got several of them with 25 and 30,000 rounds on them. So,
yeah, that's a lot of usage.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if it's going out, but what happened was it was really hot yesterday. It didn't. I think it is going out because when I pulled it up to look at it, it wasn't there. So you always kind of go, well, did I have it lined up right? Because when you lose your dot, when you draw or you run around a wall, sometimes you'll have to find your dot. I mean, typically that doesn't happen to me very often. So I typically don't think that's what's going on. And then I hit the button and I think it showed up. So that right there told me, hey, this is something going on. In fact, I'm going to pop this battery case open and see if the contact.
I actually saw when you stopped and you brought it up to your face and was messing with the buttons. I was like, oh, maybe he just forgot to turn it on.
I have done that.
Yeah, I think we've all done that. You know what I mean? You think it's on, you're, where's it? Oh, it's not on. So
yeah. And this dot, the one that was shooting yesterday, it's probably got 20,000 on it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Or at least 10 or 15. It's hard. I don't really keep track of how many each gun has. I just kind of know. I do keep track of how many rounds I load per year. And then when I've done shooting those rounds per year, I said, well, I've shot 30,000 rounds and 90% was on this gun. So I basically do some quick guesstimation.
So you're not Cody Axon where you know it down to the round?
No, I'm not. I don't. I got to be honest with you. I waste a lot of time on other stuff. That ain't one of the things.
I like you. I just have a general number. I'm like, yeah, it's about this much. So, and I know because of some other posts you'd made. So are they a sponsor or no?
Who's that?
Your optic company.
No, they are not a sponsor. Okay. I do, however, tag them every once in a while because they have a program for veterans. And so I appreciate that.
Well, shoot, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's free, it's information that's available to anybody. They have a VIP program that if you're a veteran, you can become part of. So
okay.
If you're a veteran, go look that up and you're welcome.
I will. And thank you.
Yeah.
So I also thought something was pretty interesting. You're running, at least the ammo I saw on a table with your Canics at the range was 147s.
Okay, so that's yeah, that's what you saw.
Yeah.
I did shoot some of those, but like everything else, I am somewhat of a technical nerd, and I do well. Let's also be honest. Okay, I'll say this: I do switch a lot, kind of,
Okay.
but in this current situation, sometimes stuff's not available.
Yeah.
You can't find it. It takes so long to order it, but you can find these in stock, so you shoot them. So I will say this: when I first started shooting, I chased the mythical, softest load. I never skirted the power factor. I was like, okay, no matter what, I'm never going below 130. But I want to find the softest load at 130. And so I did chase that for probably two years. Last year, I got a load going, and I shot it all year, and I never changed it. And in fact, the first match I shot of the year, they had chrono. And I knew that it should be pretty good. I chronoed it. It chronoed it like 138. I said, hey, I've shot this whole match. I won this match. This ammo doesn't bother me at all. I'm not adjusting anything. I'm not going back down to try to find a softer load. So I shot that entire load. And in fact, every time I chronoed it at another match, it went up in power factor. And so by the end of nationals, it was 141.
Holy
And
cow.
so, yeah, I got to the point where I've gotten this, luckily I've gotten this way over the last about year or two. I'm fairly insensitive to recoil. Like, you can hand me one gun and maybe, but I can't really tell the difference. There's, you know what I mean? For the most part.
Right.
I'll go shoot, even if I shoot a heavy gun, really, really heavy one, I'll be like, yeah, I can kind of feel, but at the same time, I don't care. So it used to seem like I noticed it a lot more, but now I just grip and go. And so, and this gun it blows me away how accurate this gun is. So I shot this gun for essentially a year. I guess I started shooting it around the beginning of 2019. So a year and a half, at least, maybe even into 2018. I think it was into 2018 when I started shooting it. I got them. So I've been shooting this gun for over a year and a half, and I wasn't getting anything from anybody. So I've always told people, you want to know what somebody really thinks, look what they're paying for. You know what I mean? If they're paying for that, then that's what they like. And I've got open guns, I've got guns, so it's not the cost of the gun. You know what I mean? Which just
Right.
happens to be a plus. But this gun is accurate. It's very, very accurate, and I like it. So that's basically what I did. But to get back on the ammo, so yes, I was shooting 147s. I think, though, this year I'm going to go to the 124s. So just after I just got done saying I was recoil insensitive, I still think I've started to think I like the lighter, faster bullet.
Okay.
And it's just a different feel. So
Well,
even though I can't tell, I can kind of tell.
Well, and that's where I was going to go with that, because as fast as you shoot, and as fast as you are with your draw and all of that, I was kind of surprised, because I kind of felt like the 147 would operate the slide a little slower, and maybe the 124s would operate that slide a little faster.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I've heard people say stuff like that. I've never really thought of it that way. Because in my mind, either one of them is so fast that it can't be slow enough to show up on the clock.
Well, definitely not for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not at your level.
You hear these numbers. I've heard numbers so, like, we're talking like 0.0009 is, is how fast that slide cycles. It's I don't know what the right number is. I will say this. Again, I nerd out and I waste a lot of time and energy on a lot of things, but not too much on this. I just like the feel of it. And I've accepted over the last year or two that I was like, hey, look, the gun's going to do this. It's going to go up and down. I don't care. You can't stop it. I quit trying to stop it. And so now I just want to be able to shoot that next shot as fast as possible. So I want the gun to just go up and down, and I'm okay with it going up and down faster. And even me perceiving that, as far as, that's a sharper impulse, but it's back faster. So I don't know, and again, it's one of them deals. I feel like I've been contradicting myself for the last 5 minutes on all three of these topics, but I can't tell if it recoils. But I like the softer recoil, and I can't tell if it's faster, but I like the faster cycling. So I don't know, man. I just like
It's
the gun.
the heat.
Yeah. I think I'm having a stroke out here. I overthink everything, but at the same time, sometimes I just go quit overthinking it and go with it. So no, I'm probably going to shoot 124s. I shot 135s all last year. Basically, what happened was I had some 147s on order, got them, started shooting them, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of a thump, like a push, and I like to snap. So I haven't really processed the time. I just know one feels like a push and one feels like a snap. I like the snap better now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's where I was going. Now, I will say I saw your offhand group at 25 yards because you were talking about the accuracy, and that is a great group. When I first got my SFX, now I'm a precision shooter guy. Okay. So everything, my problem is too, like if even at 100 yards, if I'm shooting a rifle and they're not all in the same hole, then I have a meltdown.
Yeah.
So when I was zeroing my Canik when I first got it, I benched it just to see what it would do at 25 yards. And I got a 3/4 by 1/2 inch group with 5 rounds.
I believe it.
And I was like, I will never be able to shoot this without it being benched. So this gun outshoots me. This is the perfect gun.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed with it. And
So,
again, like even your offhand target was very good.
Yeah. So on Saturday, I shot a match. So Sunday, I went out and shot. And the first thing I wanted to do was test these new jacketed hollow points that I've got. They're 124s. So I basically said, hey, this is what I was loading with 135s. That was a lead bullet. This is a jacketed hollow point, but it's 10 grains lighter. So I was like, all right, let's go to 3.8 grains. And then somebody else that's shooting a Canik said they were shooting 3.8. So they were getting 137. I was like, okay, this will be 133 to 135. I'm going to chrono them, but that's where I think I'm at. And I basically pulled the gun out, put 5 rounds in my magazine, and set my target up at 25 yards and shot a group. And it was the one that I posted on Sunday, where I basically just show a picture of the group and the gun, and I think I show a picture of the bullet in the magazine. That was my first group with this gun, with this ammo and this gun. And I'm gonna pull it up, but that's an 1.5 inch group at 25 yards offhand. And I did it 2 or 3 more times. So then I get the bright idea. I was like, hey, now I've got to show people this on live. So I did it. And then my groups pretty much went to about 2.5 to 3 inch groups at 25. And I was just kind of pissed off. So yeah, so I'm looking at that. It always happens, but yeah. So I was like, oh, nobody's going to really believe me, that it was that good, but it was. And so then get this, yesterday I go out and I'm like, well, let's do it again. And I shoot one about as good as my first group on Sunday. This was yesterday. And I was like, oh man, I did it like a couple more times. And I was like, guess what? We got to go live. And then I brought up live and they opened up just a little bit. What usually happens is you have really good ones and then you'll have one flyer. And that flyer pisses me off. And it's usually me probably, but at the same time, I'm not really sure. So I have a theory. And on the live, I talked about it. I've deleted the live off of my Instagram. But basically, I think that when you put this is completely crazy, and I'm getting very nerdy, and just bear with me.
That's okay.
So when you basically put a magazine in the gun and you rack the slide manually, I don't feel that that's the same as when the gun slams back and then slams forward.
I agree.
And you have the trigger depressed. So I'm like, okay, I've even gone as far as basically putting 6 bullets in the magazine, firing a shot into the berm, and then shooting the next 5, right? I wanted to see that, if that had any benefit. So I didn't do none of that, but what I'll do is I'll lock the slide back. What I'm doing is textbook not safe. It is safe, but it's going to throw up some red flags. I will point the gun at a berm, hold the trigger. This is with the slide locked back. Put the magazine in the gun, drop the slide. The trigger's still depressed, right? It can't do anything until I let it go and then pull it again, right? That's not something I recommend. I probably shouldn't even said that.
Said
but
what?
exactly.
Do not try this at home.
Do not try that. It actually. So my whole point to all this was, it doesn't make a difference because this gun, while the gun is super accurate, which is amazing for the tolerances as it has, it's traditionally these guns now, they're not made like these 1911s that are on rails or whatever you want to call it. So basically, I get mad because they're not all in the same hole.
Yeah, like a rifle. Gotcha.
Like a rifle shooter, which I've never actually shot much of,
Okay.
other than sighting in deer rifles. But then I want them all in the same hole, at 100.
All right. So, okay. Made sure I asked everything I had written down while you were talking. So last year, you were second to Max Michel at Nationals in carry optics. Now, what is your plan this year to dethrone Max? Are you going to Nancy Kerrigan him?
Yeah,
I'm available.
It's funny because I've been watching that movie I, Tonya. It came on the other night, and I watched it, and I was actually it was very entertaining because I remember all that stuff when it was going down. I was a young kid, but anyways, no, I would imagine that everybody would love to Tonya Harding Max, but no. So no, obviously not. But
I know.
I mean, everybody's going out there to hopefully have their best showing, and hope that they can get some things that go their way, and that's kind of all I really can do. It's really all I did last year was basically just try to go out there and shoot, shoot each stage like it's separate but together, and just try to execute. So that's really all I'm going to do this year. I hope that by practicing, I got a late start this year, later than I wanted, but hey, that's okay because last year I had some things that I had to fight through and still had a great match. I mean, I dislocated my shoulder probably 2 months before Nationals.
I was going to ask you, how's your shoulder doing?
It's doing pretty good. It's doing pretty good. I think I'm very pleased with it. But I tell you what, around April of this year, March, April, May-ish, I was tempted that I was like, I'm just not going to be able to shoot. This is too much pain. And I just kept doing PT. So basically when I got back from Nationals, I started doing PT, went and saw someone twice a week and stuck through that until pretty much the end of April. And finally, I mean, it was weird because it just kind of almost started going away on its own. I mean, it wasn't on its own, but it went away. Once it started going away, it went away pretty quickly. So, yeah. So anyways, I got a little late start of the year. I was supposed to shoot at least 2 matches that I backed out of. And so I would have liked to have been a little trained up, but by the time we get there, I'm hoping that, I'm trained up and kind of firing on all cylinders like I want to be. And then you just hope that, hey, I've improved and it's enough. And then I can go out there and have a good match. This year, there's going to be so many good shooters there. I mean, everybody that I can think of is going to be there. And so, hey, and then that's kind of more interesting because I just want to go out and shoot. And I think I'm pretty good and, want to execute and hope that it's enough.
Okay.
But Max, but we got to be fair. I mean, Max Michel's, he's different, man. That guy's pretty dang good. Yeah, that guy's, it's amazing.
He's like the American version of Eric Griffell.
Yeah. And, it's funny because like I've only been around for 4 or 5 years. So I don't really know much of previously of what went down necessarily, but I know he's won a lot of championships. And then I know he's won the last 5 straight for carry optics. So this year, though, he's going to have, with everybody showing up, he's going to have a lot of heat coming for him.
He is.
So, and,
sure.
I expect him to shoot as good as he can. And that's really, really, really good. So he's going to be tough to beat no matter what.
Well, and I'll, the 3 of us were at Nationals last year. And after day 1, when I looked at practice score, I was like, oh, he's in trouble. Because he was down like 80 or I'll just say 80 points, something like that. I forget who was leading, but I was like, holy cow, he has dug himself a hole. And then he comes out the next day and wins all but 1 stage. And he was second on that stage.
And I won that stage.
Yeah. And it's like, what in the world?
That one stage, I think I might have won another stage or tied or something, but I had a lot of, but yeah, he did. He came back and, I mean, he put on a show.
Yeah. I was that. Yeah, he's definitely got a different gear.
Yeah. Well, he does. He does. I don't know Max. I have met him. I met him actually before that match, and I mean, and when I say I met him, I know someone that knows him, and he said, "Hey, I'm Max," and I said, "Hey, I'm Jason." We shook hands and maybe said something else, but that was pretty much it. Max, I don't even know where I was going with it. Oh, Max just does a lot. I mean, he just does it about as good as it can be done. He rails and he does some good target transitions. I mean, he's. I mean, look at the scores.
Yeah, he's very consistent.
But I will say this: anybody's beatable. So you would think. You know,
Yes, he's human.
Eventually, I mean, he's human. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for the record, you won a stage and you were second on 4 stages.
Okay.
Not that I have statistics or anything.
Right. I think I tied for one because it was with me and Luigi. I think we tied. But yeah.
Okay.
I think it was stage. I don't even remember. It was the one you had to do a lot of like single-handed shooting.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Because
it was a timed stage.
Yep.
Yep.
I think I didn't drop very many points on that one, so I did fairly well on that one.
Okay. Oh Lord. That's a 1-year-old Great Dane.
Mm.
And he's as big as his 2-year-old dad. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed that you've started doing every Sunday night. You're doing a like a live Instagram, but you're also starting to do some live training stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually 2 questions there. So what brought about doing the Instagram live weekly? And with all the training stuff you do, I've heard, you've said in your Instagram stuff that you've been helping other people out. So do you foresee yourself, and you've helped with PSTG Training Summit, do you see yourself branching into the training arena?
Probably not. As far as something full time, no, I don't think so. I mean, not that I wouldn't want to do it. I mean, when you think about it, like, hey, would you want to go shoot guns and talk about shooting all day long? Well, that's what I do all the time, all day long, anyways, in one way or another. So yes, I would love to somehow get paid for that. But as far as traveling across country every week or 25 weeks out of the year and training, I don't think that's gonna something that would you never know, but I don't think so for a couple of reasons. There's a couple guys already out there that are doing it that are phenomenal at and these are the people that I've trained with personally, like Ben Steger. I know other people are doing it, people that I want to take a class from, like JJ. I'm pretty sure Max does something along those lines. So it's almost like they're kind of why do we need another person doing that? So, but at the same time, I don't mind. I want to help people. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy talking about this. So I can't do everything for free all the time. And to be honest with you, I don't charge really for what I do now. But if I was going to do any more, I would probably charge. I've had people ask me, "Hey, would you come to a class for 2 days?" And so, right now this ammo shortage has kind of killed any of that stuff. But I would do something like that if it was somewhat near me, and it was just the right time.
Okay. Now, what got you into doing your Instagram live weekly?
So I've been on several podcasts. I started the Hit Factor with a couple of the guys. Basically, it's like, hey, let's do a podcast. So we got that together. When you're doing a podcast with 3 other people, it's a lot of fun because you get to talk and you get different ideas. But at the same time, you kind of always have to be, hey, somebody may say, I want to do this. And if you don't like it, you're like, well, I don't want to do that. And then the next time you can't always be that way. And with 4 people, it's kind of hard to kind of everybody get on the same page. And so, it was just that. And I didn't really, it's funny because I'm going to contradict myself again here. I didn't really want to do something every week. So I would feel bad that, hey, I don't want to do it this week, and I would do it anyways, and that would just be kind of annoying for me.
Okay,
And
yes.
so there was that. Then I basically started jumping on other people's podcasts, and the cool thing about that is I had no say. I just either showed up or I didn't, and a lot of times I would just ask questions. So I didn't have to come up with material, and I didn't have to I just showed up, and so that was pretty fun, and still is fun. And then I just basically a couple weeks ago I said, you know what, I'm going to just do live, and I'm just going to see who jumps on and what we can talk about.
Okay.
And so, in a lot of ways, the first one was my favorite one because I had a couple buddies show up. Brian with Hunters HD Gold, I got him to jump on. We talked about some stuff because he's always traveling around, and so it just went so well the first time. I really enjoyed it, and I was like, look, all I got to do is basically hit live. I don't have to compress anything. I don't have to edit anything. I don't have to adjust audio levels. I don't have to upload it to a feed for RSS feed for a podcast. If somebody wants to watch it, they can watch it live, or they can come to my page and watch it. So while it may be weekly, and I'm not going to do them every week, but right now I will until I get bored. I'll take a couple weeks off. But I literally come in here, hit live. Sometimes I'll say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Like last night we did it, and we had the Area 3 director candidates come on. And, my reach doesn't have thousands of people in every area, but it's, it'll get 500 views, and it'll get more as it goes on. But those people, when they went live, any of their followers saw that they're live, and they said, well, let me go see what Matt's talking about. Or let me go see what Don Rush is talking about. So they would jump on it. So, and it was just really quick to the simple questions to the point. It was, I had each person on for about 10 or 15 minutes. And so I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do, and going to let it kind of take its course and see where it goes. So that's why I started doing that. And I just had a lot of fun with the weekly ones. And as far as the training goes, I enjoy talking about shooting and why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I'm thinking about. So I just started saying, hey, you know what? I started doing those first at the range. I said, and then I've done a couple in dry fire. I said, hey, I'm going to hit live, see who comes on, see if they want to talk, see if there's anybody that wants me to demonstrate something or try something. And a lot of it's like, I really like the trick shot stuff, and I try not to focus too much on it, but I like doing it. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to shoot these clay pigeons at 50 yards.
Yeah, I saw you were shooting those. Yeah, yesterday. So I'm going to switch around my order of questions since you brought up the interviews you did with Don and Matt, and actually Leif as well.
Yep.
It was interesting. I liked the format, and they were very simple questions, but still got different answers. When you interviewed Leif, you asked him if he would match direct for Area 5.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find interesting about that is we interviewed the Area 8 match director. So that episode will be coming out shortly. The interesting part was what Leif said exactly what you guys mentioned about the Cornhusker Classic, which was the stages were the right size. There weren't extra targets just thrown in to get higher round count, anything like that. But the interesting thing is with Area 8 is there has been pushback that the round count wasn't high enough. And when you look at the stages, I thought the stages looked pretty good. There was, there's like one that's like 10 round stage, but it involves movement. It involves, things you have to shoot around. So I felt like you'd really have to be on top of your game on those shorter stages in order to manage a stage one, because they're doing the 3-2-1 IPSC style, which they did last year, which I liked a lot. It was really good. You had a couple big stages, but you had some medium and short ones, which were really good. But I was kind of surprised to hear they got some pushback on that.
Yeah, I mean, so not knowing the situation and everything, I would probably chalk that up to, and it might be wrong, but I would chalk that up to once you kind of get used to doing something, anything outside that is probably going to get kickback, or you're going to get kickback in griping that, hey, this is the same every time. So I shoot a local match that's in, about an hour and a half away from me. And the stages are very, very good, but they are almost always the exact same flavor. So it's kind of stale, but that's just my opinion, right? So I try to realize that, and then I just try to be like, So the thing I liked about the Cornhusker Classic is like you said, it was not your typical. I guess to basically what I'm saying previously is I'm used to shooting higher round counts. Now this is also kind of pre-COVID, but where you shoot a 10-stage match and the average round count's 27.
Oh wow.
So then you go to shoot these matches where the highest stage was 27 rounds, and that was one of them, and the rest of them were like basically 20 to 22. So it was a little bit different, and I'm used to going over here to this spot and there's 4 targets, and then going over this spot and there's 4 targets or 8 shots, and going to this spot and there's 8 shots. Right? This one wasn't like that. It was like, there's 2 targets and then there's a steal and a target, and so it just seemed to be really good. One of the other things I want to give credit to those people working that match is they took feedback when they set the stages up. Some of the people at that club basically said, "Hey, these are really good, but could I suggest this?" And this was before anybody shot it, obviously, and they were receptive and made those improvements, and it made the stages better. So another plus for them. But
right,
you're that's the other thing, man. You're never going to please everybody.
You're not. But I thought it was interesting, and actually, your first thought was because we found out more of the backstory. Your first impression was the more correct impression. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. All right. So getting back, I mean, obviously we see what you're doing in training now, but when you're getting ready for something like an area championship or even nationals last year, what did your training look like the week or two prior to that championship or nationals?
Yeah. So, okay. So that was a little bit different because of last year for nationals, I pretty much had to quit training.
Because your shoulder?
Because of my shoulder. It was
okay.
I was in this, I almost canceled going the week
okay.
up. Yeah, I almost did not go. It was that bad. And so I basically had to quit shooting and quit practicing for about 3 weeks. I tried to sneak a little bit in there, but I was very, very easy and sparing on it because it inflamed it and aggravated it more. But typically what I would do is I might start taking some breaks. So like normally I shoot either dry fire or live fire with a gun at least 5 days a week for at least 30 minutes a day. Right.
Okay.
And what I would do probably the week of it, I'd probably take another day off or two in there somewhere. I'd accept that, hey, we're about 3 weeks out. So a great example is that about 3 weeks, I got another match. And so now I'm really just going to try to, like yesterday I went out and I practiced and it was a good practice. I was shooting really good. I was in control. We've all had those days where they're really good. Of course, Saturday I wasn't as pleased with, but I had to basically tell myself, hey, it's okay. Come back tomorrow. Really dial in on these things that you're really trying to get, bear down on, and these things that you're trying to focus on or whatever, and execute, and we'll do it tomorrow. And I did. So now I'm not trying to, get any faster or make any gains in speed. I'm just trying to keep where I'm at and all that stuff, but then execute. So I'm trying to basically get into that execution on demand mode and really trying to, see more information in a faster amount of time. And it's not actually that I'm just trying to get myself to where I can see what I need to see, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because
absolutely.
You can go through a stage or a drill and basically not really dial in, you might call it tunnel vision or hone in or zero in, right? On what you need to do. Let's just talk about specific spots on a target. And so when you really need to zone in and start tracking that spot, in each target, that's the way I shoot the best. When I can see that much, and I just have to be disciplined and in control. But it's very easy for me to roll that back and just go brown, brown, brown. And then when you do that, the hits start to go down. And so, my first match was last week or the week before, and so this is only gonna be my second match of the year. And I overall was happy. The thing about the Cornhusker Classic is you kind of alluded to it a minute ago, is it was a match where you kind of had to do everything pretty sound, because any kind of mistake on a misstep, and it was a little bit more critical in my opinion because of the high hit factors and how fast the stages kind of would go. Someone, so I'm a grandmaster, but it wasn't crazy for a B or A class guy to just kind of rail on a stage and win it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, some of these stages were, that's not something that typically holds on through a 10-stage match, but you get 3 or 4 stages that are won by different, A class guys when the GM and the M guys should be winning it. That happens. So basically, I'm just really going to focus on execution and points. And I know that if I execute, the points will be where they need to be.
Right. Now, are you going to keep the same 5-day schedule?
I'll probably take off another day. So normally what I do is I shoot, and through the weekend I shoot. I'll go practice on Saturday, shoot on Sunday, and then Monday I take it off. So like this week, because we're a short week, I'm taking today off, which is Tuesday. But I'm going to get back on it. So if this was a match, so I'm going to shoot every day, or dry fire, or shoot every day this week, and then Monday I'll take off. So the week of that match, I'll still take the Monday off, but I'll probably take the day off before the match too.
Okay.
Or if I don't, I'll take like a Wednesday off and just kind of rest and maybe even try to decompress and quit. And try my best not even to think about shooting, which never happens.
I was gonna say good luck.
Never. It never happens. I'm like, I'll go, hey, I'm not getting on Instagram today, and I'm not listening to a podcast, and I'm not doing anything with the gun, any of that stuff, and I literally will do every bit of it. So, but I'll usually not dry fire. So
okay. Now, when you're at nationals, do you dry fire at all, like in between at night at the hotel, or?
No, I won't do it at night, but I will do it in the mornings.
Okay, so you'll get up in the morning and dry fire.
Yeah, and I'll even go to the warm up bay and do a little bit of live fire, which I think is pretty typical. What pretty much everybody does.
Right. Now, what are you looking to accomplish when you go to the warm up bay?
First thing is really check to make sure you're still zeroed in where you want to be, which usually is the case, and then just kind of get that feel of slinging that gun up with ammo loaded, hot, and popping off some rounds, getting the feel of it. I mean, it's like anything else. Given the chance, you don't want to shoot your first stage never having popped a round off that day, when you can go to the warm up bay and do some draws and fires and transitions, right?
Yeah,
so,
and I kind of liken it to Chris will enjoy this analogy. I kind of liken it to when you're playing football, you get that first hit out of the way.
Yeah,
that's what going to the warm up bay is. You're getting those first recoils out of the way, so when you go in there for that very first stage, you're already ready for it. You know what I mean? There's no anticipation. There's nothing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Good analogy.
I like it. I mean, there is something to that, because I played football a little bit in high school, and I was running back, and you kind of get that, I'm gonna hit this dude, and you kind of once you kind of get that pain out of the way, the little bit of pain after that, or each down is not as bad. It's kind of like stepping into a cold pool or a hot bath, right? You just kind of have to
jump.
You can ease in. You can try to ease into it, or you just jump right in.
You got to jump.
Once you get that first hit, it gets the jitters out. It gets you get comfortable, and you're like, here you go. Now I know where I need to run, need to go, and everything. So I feel you.
I'm a terrible skier, and I know I'm going to fall. So I always, that first run, I make sure I fall. I get it done, get it out of the way. I'm like, all right, I'm good. Let's go again.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned the stage, I forget which one it's at nationals. There were 2 aspects to it. It was a time stage where it was all strong hand in one box and then all weak hand in the other.
Yeah.
And how often do you train strong hand, weak hand?
That's a great question. I don't want to say every practice, but probably at least once a month.
Okay.
In live fire, I'll get out there and shoot a little bit. Weekend strong hand. I will say the one good thing, let me back this up again. So starting shooting IDPA, every match you shot weak hand or strong hand or both. Every match you ever go to, they will throw in some one-handed shooting. So you knew it was coming. And so you basically would get out there and practice if you wanted not to have a bad time at that. Because I'm a big believer in, hey, if you don't like this, you don't like it because you're not good at it. So go get good at it, and then you'll be amazed on how much you like it. And so I'll get out there and practice that, and I'll make myself do the things I don't want to do. I say that. I try to make myself do the things I don't want to do. But as far as shooting one-handed and weekend, left and or strong hand and weekend, that's something I actually enjoy doing. I don't spend the time on it, every time because it doesn't pay out as much when, you'll shoot a whole year and not shoot any. I mean, unless you shoot 30 matches. I mean, it's very possible to shoot 6 major matches and not have any weekend or strong hand. So,
Okay.
So, I think a lot of people neglect it because, it's not something that they're going to see every match, every stage. You might see it one stage out of every 4 matches you shoot.
And then you get to nationals, and Shannon's got you doing multiple stages of one-handed shooting.
Yep.
So, all right.
I
So
was just glad there wasn't any prone shooting because I hate prone shooting.
Yeah, it's not really. I don't even know is that really even practical.
So, okay, I when you started saying that sentence, I knew the word practical was going to come out. I got to be honest with you. Here's how I look at this, and this is just my opinion, and I'm just some guy. But there's nothing I don't look at what we do as practical.
Okay.
So I wish people would quit saying that because then they use that as an excuse to do this or do that. And I'm like, look, we're shooting at hostage targets. We're shooting targets on the move. We're doing all this stuff that you would not do if this was a real life situation. That's just my opinion. I don't mean I'm right, but that's just my opinion. So, and I think some of that's because when I started shooting IDPA, some of the people thought that what they were doing was a little more serious than what I thought it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, I've heard people, USPSA will get you killed. These are IDPA shooters. USPSA will get you killed in the streets. And I'm just like, oh, man. So, to me, it's a sport. It's a test of accuracy at speed, and it's nothing more.
Agree.
I mean, you're not running. I mean, who's carrying? First of all, who's walking around carrying their carry weapon as a PCC? Nobody. Nobody's carrying open guns. Nobody's carrying the guns that we shoot in limited. Nobody's carrying the guns that we shoot in carry optics. Right? Nobody's carrying those guns.
There might be one.
Well, I mean, there's always one, and there's some, but overall, the majority of people are not carrying any of these guns. If you carry a gun, it's going to be typically a carry gun made for duty carry or duty carry or whatever you want to call it. A smaller size of what you may be shooting in competition, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm not carrying a full-size TP9 SFX with a dot with extended base pads around.
No. But I do carry an Elite Combat with an RMR.
And that makes sense, though. But that's a smaller gun, right?
It is a small. Well, yeah, the SFX barrel is huge. So
yeah, and that's a good gun. And you're also probably carrying legit self-defense ammo.
That might be true.
That's probably 160 power factor. I don't know exactly what it'd be, but it's not going to be 130. It's going to be hot.
Yeah,
hot ammo.
Yeah.
And you're also not running around and putting gamer goo all over your hands.
Well, hold on. You maybe. Wait a minute. This looks like a bad situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got it all over your clothes.
Right. Labor's like, what's all that white stuff all over you? Like, not. Yeah. Let's just move on.
That could go so many different ways.
Exactly.
All right. So, last thing I got for you is. So you're gonna come to Virginia State and win a belt?
I don't know. I gotta look at the old map and see how far Virginia is, but I think Virginia is awful far. So, you know, I don't want to say never, but I'm not a big fan of driving over about 8 hours. I'm not even a fan of driving 8 hours, but anything over 3 hours, I get kind of not fun to be around.
Yeah, my kids and I drove to Texas one year, and I live 20 minutes from where the state match is held, and we stopped in Little Rock overnight, and that was about 12 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then you had another 5, or I don't exactly know
Yeah,
how
it's
far
about
Little
5.
Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
depending
about
on where you're
5 or
going in
6.
Texas. Well,
Yeah.
depending on where you're going in Texas, it could have been another 12 hours. So,
Yeah. I have driven straight through from here to Houston. That's a 21-hour drive.
exactly. Yeah. So I would imagine it's a 20-hour drive, or well, maybe not that far. It's
about
at least
18.
12 from my house to where you're at. Probably, I'm going to say 12 at the minimum.
Okay,
And I don't want to drive that.
that's a long.
But
drive.
at the same time, you never know. You never know. I do want to get out and shoot other matches, so that is a possibility. But I like the belt. You know, I saw that. I knew that once. I think I said that. I think you were the one that commented and said, "Hey, we've got one in Virginia," and then some other people and I had basically remembered that was the case, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty funny. I like that.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. Well, that's all. Chris, do you have any questions?
Actually, no. I think it's been really fun listening to you. Congratulations on getting the sponsorship with Canik, and
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm very happy with that because being a Canik shooter myself, meaning that I shoot the Canik. I ain't sponsored. Just make sure we say that I'm not sponsored, but I love the gun. I fell in love with it the first time I picked it up, and I was like, "Oh my God, this thing fits my hand," and I have a very large hand, so
yeah,
you know, it just felt comfortable, it felt good, and I was very pleased with it. But I wish you the best.
Thank you.
I hope to see you out there and be able to kind of laugh with you, and you can laugh at me as you be like, "Oh."
No, I mean I appreciate that.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what he meant about trying to slow down.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you hear something like you're like, "Man, is that a Jake break I hear over here somewhere?" That's usually me trying to slow down, you know.
Yeah.
So this year I'm actually thinking about slinging on the parachute. You know,
there you go,
popping that as I'm
popping it. Yeah. It'll help. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to shoot the gun officially for Canik. I really like the gun, as everybody can tell. So I mean, all you got to do is if you just go back and look through some of my posts. I mean, so obviously I like the gun. So I'm excited. I want to I really enjoy shooting it and showing how accurate it is, because it's kind of a marvel, or it's amazing to me that the technology we're at now, everything's made faster, right? Mm-hmm. And so typically you're thinking, you can have quality, speed, or cost, and pick any two, right? But I'm really pleased with this gun. The price is definitely right. I really like the quality, and what was the third one? But and it's you get them.
Cost.
So yeah, the cost.
Yeah.
Anyways, but it's a good gun. It's very accurate. I like showing it off. So
yeah, I mean it's as good as any gun out there, and definitely beats 99% of them price wise. So
yeah.
And I agree with you so much on that. And matter of fact, you look at the competitors out there, as in other companies, what Canik gives you compared to some of the other companies, what they give you, what you purchase, it's like it's almost like a night and day, because you get more with the Canik than you do with other purchases. So.
Yeah, I mean, the gun really does. There's a couple other guns, but this one comes out of the box and you can shoot it in a match. It's really ready. There's a couple other ones, but it comes with really good sights. It even comes with a holster.
Right.
And I can't remember if it comes with mag pouches or not, but anyways, it's a good gun, and it does. You do get a lot for what you're paying for. I mean, you get a lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah,
for sure. Pun intended.
Pun intended.
Well, Jason, we thank you for coming on. Appreciate your
you.
time and everything, all the information you shared. It was a good time. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a good time. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Very welcome. You have a great evening.
You too.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.